Government Program Independent Siberia subject to the transfer of control over the territory of Siberia. Creation of municipalities in all the administrative units of independent Siberia and the direct one-time appointment of the heads of these bodies by the government of independent Siberia. The main function of the municipality, registration and taking control of all members of the state and power structures of the former government, staffing the power structures of the new government and preparing for the elections of all branches of representative power, restructuring the individual branches of government and the power structures. Announcement of the termination of the powers of all state government bodies and power structures of independent Siberia, earlier part of the so-called Russian Federation, with the exception of prison services, communal services, and emergency services, and the creation of programs for their smooth reorganization. The government of independent Siberia realizes that without investigating and condemning the crimes of the past, it is impossible to create a respectable future, and for this reason it first decides to creation of a state commission for the declassification, investigation and publication of archives of the CPSU, United Russia, Cheka, GPU, NKVD, KGB, FSB and other government structures for the period from 1917 until the creation of this commission. This commission will uncover and investigate all archives located in the territories that constitute independent Siberia. This commission will also include foreign experts from the European Union, countries that were formerly part of the so-called socialist camp or temporarily occupied by the Soviet Union. Creation of a state commission to prepare and conduct criminal investigations and trials of crimes by the communist system, the CPSU, United Russia, the Cheka, the GPU, the NKVD, the KGB, the FSB and other state power and party structures that operated in the territories of independent Siberia. This commission will also prepare a law to ban communist and Putinist symbols in the territories that are part of independent Siberia. Creation of the State Lustration Commission, whose task will be to investigate the activities of all state employees of former government agencies located in the territories of independent Siberia. This commission will identify the circle of persons who will not be allowed to hold any positions in state institutions, as well as will be banned from participating in any election campaigns as candidates. Preparation of a draft of the Constitution of Independent Siberia, in which articles must necessarily be inserted. Preparation of fundamental laws on freedom of movement, on freedom of speech, and others. Preparation of a mandatory law on restitution to return property stolen by the Soviets to the heirs of the rightful owners. Developing a law on reparations to Ukraine. Despite the fact that independent Siberia did not take part in initiating the Russian aggression against Ukraine, we nevertheless realize our part of the guilt in this crime, and we must take part in the reconstruction of Ukraine, in the establishment of peaceful life of the Ukrainian people. Independent Siberia is a secular, parliamentary-type state, respecting all religions, equally as long as they do not preach violence against people and extremism. Also at the legislative level will be banned participation of any religious organization in the state administration system, prohibited the influence of any religion on the procedures of democratic elections, as well as banned the study of any religion in primary and secondary schools, higher educational institutions, public and private, except for higher religious educational institutions established and registered by religious confessions. Starting the process of entry of independent Siberia into international public and human rights organizations, such as the United Nations, OSCE, PASC, UNESCO and others, as well as in the Organization of Control of International Institutions, for the observance of rights and freedoms of citizens of independent Siberia. Preparation and conclusion of cooperation and partnership agreements with NATO and the EU. Independent Siberia is a multinational territory populated by different peoples enjoying equal rights. Propaganda of superiority of one nationality over others, insulting and derogatory statements in publications regarding any nations will be prohibited at the legislative level. Based on cultural and historical assumptions, Siberian culture identifies nationality not with race or ethnicity, but with citizenship. One of the primary tasks of the government of independent Siberia will be to develop a concept and enshrine in law the adoption by citizens of the oath of allegiance to independent Siberia. Citizenship in independent Siberia is based on the right of soil. Anyone who was born in the territories comprising independent Siberia is entitled to citizenship with the obligation to take the oath of allegiance to independent Siberia and to sign a document condemning communism and Putinism. Due to the previous point, a program will be developed with the involvement of linguistic scientists, to revive the Siberian language as a means of interethnic communication in the territories comprising independent Siberia. The Siberian language will be used as a state language on an equal footing with the languages of native peoples, living in the territories within the territories of independent Siberia. At the legislative level, it will be legislatively stipulated that native languages will be mandatorily used as state languages in a certain territory. If 2% or more of the native people live in a particular territory, then in that territory the language of that people shall be used as another state language. And more than 2 state languages can be used in one territory. State and national holidays will be determined later. Development of laws on land's resources. The sale of land and a number of properties to individuals who are not citizens of independent Siberia will be prohibited in the territories included in independent Siberia. The purchase of land by foreigners will be possible only through the organization of a legal entity with a specific investment plan for a certain period of time. Resale of land by the owner within 5 years after the acquisition of any land or obtaining such land under another program will be possible, but with the payment of tax at an increased rate. As for a number of highly liquid land plots, resale will be impossible for at least 5 years. This measure must provide protection against land speculation. Legislation will prohibit the compulsory purchase of land from owners on the basis of the notorious state necessity. Development of laws on resource rent for the basic income of citizens of the states of Siberia, as well as provisions for which savings accounts these funds go to and for what purposes these funds can be used: buying real estate, starting a business, education, buying vehicles. Creating a financial system that provides for children under the age of 18 and initially for all citizens of independent Siberia to receive a percentage of income from the sale of minerals and other resources, which can be spent on the purchase of housing, land, education, and businesses. Development of a program for the construction of roads and railroads in the territories that make up independent Siberia. attracting interested partners from countries with road construction technologies in hard-to-reach places, to the toll highways construction projects, as well as the construction of high-speed rail service. Development of a regulatory and legislative base for the development of light private aviation, as well as a program for the construction of airports to receive light private aviation aircraft. Development of an investment attraction program, with the employment of certain tax benefits in the initial period. A balanced privatization of a number of enterprises, with the exception of strategically important ones, the list of which should also be developed. Privatization of resource mining enterprises should be carried out, taking into consideration the receipt by citizens of a part of the resource rent. The priority in privatization and investment should be given to manufacturing enterprises, and not to resource mining. Trade in natural resources will be a good help at the initial stage of the development of independent Siberia, but is not a long-term plan of the economic program. Creating a positive investment climate should attract investors to create high-tech enterprises for processing raw materials and producing finished products. The powerful scientific base that has existed in Siberia for decades must become the basis for the development of modern science and high technology. There should be an open exchange of scientific personnel, free movement and work of Siberian scientists in the world, as well as free cooperation of leading scientists of the world in Siberian scientific centers. Successful development of science is impossible without international cooperation. Questions about recruiting foreign workers. Citizens of independent Siberia enjoy the priority right to sign employment contracts, for which purpose no one company can hire a foreigner without first announcing an open tender for the vacancy provided. If a citizen of independent Siberia responds to a given vacancy, he or she will have the priority right to sign an employment contract, provided that the level of qualifications is acceptable. Development of tax regulations, automatic tax calculation programs, minimizing the participation of tax officials in the process of calculating and collecting taxes, penalties and other payments. The tax office is not a repressive machine, but a structure of effective interaction between business and the state budget. Police. The responsibilities of the police will include protection of the law and public order, protection of the state border, protection of some dangerous subjects and facilities of prison sentences. Development and introduction of the system of control of the power structures with the study and use of the experience of the countries which achieved success in this matter, providing for the strict observance of laws and impossibility of unreasonable repressions, tortures, arrests, etc. The development of these projects and programs will involve experts from the police of the EU countries and the USA. Forming public committees to monitor and supervise the police and prisons for observance of the law and human rights. Development of a law on foreigners, which would provide for the process of legalization as follows: temporary residency, minimum 5 years, permanent residency, minimum 3 years, citizenship. It is also possible to obtain citizenship by marriage with a citizen of independent Siberia, and for special merit in the consideration of this request by the Free Siberian Parliament. The maximum aspiration to conclude agreements on visa-free travel with the countries of the world and favoring the openness of society and the development of the tourism business. together with the experts of the financial system, to draw up and implement a program to create its own national currency, such as the Siberian dollar. In the coming years it is necessary to maximize the switch to a system of non-cash payments, up to the complete rejection of cash currency rotation. Providing the population with completely free education from preschool through university. Creation of a flexible and comfortable system with full public provision of school accessories. 5-day preschool and school education in the language of the people in whose region the schools are located, with compulsory additional study of English and a second language of choice. Maximum state support for the opening of private schools, secondary vocational schools, and universities, followed by adequate government control of the program of study in the educational process. Organization of a state system of social insurance, with pensions that aspire to the level of pensions of the most developed states in terms of social insurance. State provision of the poor with basic housing, transportation, and food in accordance with each person's income level. In addition, it is necessary to develop programs of psychological work with the poor, with the aim of their adaptation and integration into active groups of society, programs of professional retraining. Development and implementation of a state medical insurance system that provides completely free and high-quality basic, and not only basic medical services to the whole population. Fostering the opening and development of private medical centers with adequate control of their activities by state agencies. Creation of the armed forces of independent Siberia, on a contract basis in peacetime, the training of the armed forces according to NATO standards and with the assistance of NATO experts and instructors. In this step-by-step, as soon as possible, existing military units should be dissolved, all existing military ranks should be cancelled. New military units must be created, and the officers of the new armed forces must be formed. The battle banners of previously existing military units must be mandatorily transferred to the state archives of independent Siberia. Provide for the study of the cultural background of the native peoples of Siberia and support cultural education and the self-identification of peoples on an international level. Active development of agriculture, study of agricultural options in risky farming areas, aspiration for maximum food self-sufficiency based on natural factors. Development of a program and implementation of activities on state support of small enterprises in the agricultural sector. State guarantees of funding for significant ecological projects, for example, moving to waste separation and quality recycling, dump reclamation, cleaning up water bodies and putting fish in, stopping deforestation, and planting new tree saplings. Development and implementation of a program to fight corruption, in addition to the adoption of criminal articles providing sanctions for corruption, the formation of a clear public opinion in society, so that any variant of corruption, nepotism were impossible and found a total rejection in society. For this purpose, it is also necessary to rotate civil servants and to prevent nepotism when applying for the civil service by creating a system of monitoring family and other relationships, for example, questionnaires of applicants and passing state examinations. The drafting of the provisions of a law on the free circulation of weapons and its later adoption. The free circulation of weapons is the guarantee of the security of a national democracy.